Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadians get a big win and they advance in round one. Here we go on to round two. We get a 2-1 win against the Tampa Bay Lightning in game 7 in Tampa Bay. And like what I don't know how to explain what just happened in that one. A game where the Canadians probably should not have won. It was definitely an interesting game to say the least, but we dug deep, we found a way. I mean, Dobes, that's really all you have to say for this one. He was an absolute rock star in this game. Made 28 saves in this one, a 966 save percentage in this game. He was, covering everything. He was making every save he needed to make. There were saves where, the Tampa Bay Lightning should have definitely scored, and Dobes was there right where he needed to be to make a big save, and that's exactly what we needed to have in a game like this. And of course, we as Habs fans know what it's like. In 2021, Carey Price did what he needed to do, and he made those big saves to get us into that moment, and allowed us to to win games because of the saves that he was able to make. And I'm feeling kind of a same vibe with Dobes here. I'm not saying that Dobes is Carey Price reincarnate by any means, but at the same time, it's like we do not win this game without the brilliant play of Dobes throughout this entire thing. It was unbelievable what he was able to do. Tons of point blank saves that he was able to make, and made some big saves, did not give up a whole lot of rebounds, all that kind of stuff, and he absolutely frustrated the top guys of the Tampa Bay Lightning. The only guys who, obviously the only player for Tampa that was able to score in this whole thing was Dominic James, who, to be fair, I feel like he's an up-and-coming player for sure for Tampa, so, it's not surprising to me that he was able to get a goal there, but, I think Dobes did a fantastic job. He frustrated those top guys of Tampa Bay, and that's, I think, a big reason why the Canadians are walking into round two right now. Obviously Nick Suzuki gets himself a goal in this one, but our top guys for the most part in this series were not exactly firing on all cylinders. I think credit to Tampa, as I said in the last video as well. Credit to them for the way that they were able to shut down our guys or whatever, make sure that our guys weren't able to get going in the same way that we would like to, but either way, I think it's like an incredible series from the unsung heroes of this entire team here. The bottom six guys, the goaltender, obviously, Dobes deserves to be the first star of the entire series if we're gonna look at it that way. And that guy, and Josh Anderson, and some of those other guys, right, like Jake Evans and Phil Deneau, doing great work to keep us in it defensively. And this game is no different in defensive efforts as well. I felt like we did a great job defensively in this game throughout the whole thing. I think we were really able to to shut down their opportunities, limit them as much as possible. Obviously, Tampa outplayed us in this game. I don't even think that can be a question when we got outshot 29-9 in the entire game. No shots in the second period at all. So obviously Tampa played a little bit better is probably an exaggeration of it, but a credit to the Canadians then the way that we were able to play defense in that game. We shut them down. We took down a lot of chances that were pretty dangerous for them, made them shoot pucks from outside, and Dobes was able to clean up everything he needed to clean up in that one. The only goal that happens there is a power play tip in goal, which credit where credit's due there. It's a good tip. They get us back for kind of the greasy tip that we got to start the game off. So, a crazy game. Let's break it down. Obviously, we got to start in the first period. It took pretty much the entirety of the first period to get a goal at all, but Nick Suzuki shows up for the first time in the series. Obviously, he's got a number of points already, but this is his first goal in the series, and it's a beautiful tip job. Caden Gooley takes a shot from the point, and Nick Suzuki is able to bat that down. It goes down towards the ice, bounces off a defenseman's skate, and then just kind of sneaks past Vasilevsky on his left side there. So a really nice tip, a really nice shot from Caden Gooley to find him in that position as well. Josh Anderson, of course, somehow gets his first assist of the series on that one, but you'll take it, obviously. And he does a lot of the heavy work to get this goal to happen in the first place. He's the one who's winning the battle in the first place. You can kind of go back and watch it. There's a little bit of a cross check that he gives. I think it was Kucherov in that position to allow him to win that puck battle in the first place. But either way, he wins the puck battle to the half wall there and is able to get that puck up to Caden Gooley, keep the play alive after a board battle there. Caden Gooley makes that shot, and Suzuki is in a great position to get a nice tip. Tips that down into the to the right side there where where it goes past it. Suzuki finds a way to tip that one in, and got a really nice tip. I think you can obviously look at that and be like, oh, that's lucky, whatever, but also that's a skillful tip, and obviously go and look everywhere else in the playoffs this year, last year, all that kind of stuff. There's so many goals that end up going off of defensemen's stick just because of sticks or skates or whatever, just because they're in that area and the puck is flying in that area. It can hit off of anything. That's exactly what we capitalize on in that position, and that's how we get that goal there. And then, of course, in the second period, things did not exactly go the way that we had planned. 0 shots on goal the entire time. It's the only time in franchise history in the playoffs that we've ever had a shotless period of hockey there. So clearly not our best work. It was just... I honestly think like you would think that the Canadiens were playing a terrible hockey game to be without a single shot for an entire period, but I really think it's more just a credit to the way that Tampa was playing in that game there, especially down 1. They were just absolutely locking down everything. They've been doing that all series, obviously. I mean, there's a reason why Cole Caulfield with 50 goals on the season only had 1 in this playoff series, and it was on the power play. They do a great job of shutting down our guys and playing smart defensively in the first place, but especially in this game, I felt like Tampa Bay was just giving us absolutely no room. Every time we would break into the zone, we would just not be able to win those battles, and pucks were not getting into dangerous areas. They were just shutting down pretty much all of the angles. So it just ended up being a situation where the Canadiens could only hope for just like a dump and change over and over again. And anytime we went in for a board battle or try to go in for a rush chance or whatever, the shot would get blocked, and we would just lose the board battle or whatever. And that was just a perpetual cycle for pretty much a period and a half going into the third period as well. So I feel like the Canadiens weren't exactly playing terrible by any means, but at the same time you have to do a little bit better at dissecting through that Tampa Bay defense. And we were just not doing that at all. We were just kind of, sticking to the status quo and hoping that a bounce would go our way. Did not go our way. It instead went theirs. They got themselves a power play opportunity. And Dominic James, as I mentioned earlier, got a nice tip, kind of a midair tip that kind of goes up into the top corner there underneath the arm of Dobes, and ends up being a tie game there. So not a great period of hockey, all things considered. I think that especially just offensively throughout the entire game, we just spent very little time overall in that offensive zone. We weren't really getting ourselves into the right areas, not doing what we needed to be doing in that capacity there, which is kind of frustrating, obviously. Just like that, and that's exactly what Tampa wanted to do, right? They wanted to shut us down. They wanted to make sure that we felt the pressure pretty much everywhere, all over the ice, and they did a really nice job of that in this game. They pretty much completely shut down all of our lines offensively for half the game. We just weren't able to get anything going offensively other than just kind of dumping and hoping that something would work. And anytime we did get the puck, it would just end up being blocked, or we'd miss the net or whatever. So nothing was going our way, and I think we have nobody but Jakub Dobes to thank for the fact that we were even still in the game going into the third period, considering how much pressure Tampa was putting on, and how little offensive zone time the Canadiens were getting throughout that entire period there. So credit to the defense, as well as, of course, Jakub Dobes for keeping us in that one going into that third period. Third period wasn't much better to start things off either. I think we continued to kind of do the same thing. We had a little bit more energy, obviously. We played a little bit better, got a couple shots on net, all that good stuff. But it was kind of more of the same. Tampa just chugging away at us, and just hoping that something would find its way past Dobes. But eventually, instead of that, Alex Newhook is able to get a really nice goal in to take the lead up 2-1 there. It all starts with just like a mentality of getting the puck to the front of the net in the first place, right? I feel like throughout a lot of the second period, obviously we were getting shut down, as I just mentioned, but also we were trying a little bit too hard to find, the right angle, the perfect play, whatever, all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't there. So I like the idea in this shift of, Caden Gooley gets the puck over to Lane Hudson, and Lane Hudson just rips this thing on net. It doesn't go on net, but it makes Vasilevsky have to, make a blocker effort there. I think it was going to go wide, but Vasilevsky kind of pops this thing up high, so it kind of gets him out of position a little bit. And as it's falling back down, Newhook is able to kind of spin around and bat this thing out of the air, goes off of the back of Vasilevsky and in behind him. I think you can really look at it as like that's exactly the kind of goal that would go in for the Montreal Canadiens in this situation. It's just, the hockey gods said that Montreal was going to win this game, and that's exactly what happened. So it's just, like an absolute fluke. I mean, I'm not going to say that it wasn't skilled, right? I mean, obviously that's some very skilled hand-eye coordination from Newhook, and also having the presence of mind to make that play and know that, Vasilevsky's probably a little bit off his post, and that play is probably going to be available if he can make it work. But obviously, a little bit of luck involved in getting it to bat correctly, and actually go off of his back and into the back of the net there. So a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, but we'll absolutely take it as it gives us a 2-1 lead there, and that silences the crowd. It gets the Canadiens a little bit of juice, and that's exactly what we needed. Ended up being the game-winning goal in Game 7 there. It's probably one of the cooler Game 7 game winners out there. I mean, obviously, it's not like a very typical goal, but to have a kind of bat-in goal like that on your backhand from like behind the net to win in a Game 7 there is a pretty cool goal there, and leave it to, the only guy on the Canadiens roster with a Stanley Cup ring to, have the presence of mind to make a play like that work and end up giving us that Game 7 win there. So that was a big goal, obviously. Ever since that, Tampa pretty much came pretty hard the whole time through. From the remainder of the third period there, they just kept coming in waves and, putting a ton of pressure on us and all that kind of stuff. They ended up pulling the goalie with a little bit over 2 minutes there. Some great defense, some great saves by Dobes, all that kind of stuff keeps us afloat a little bit. And then, of course, I mean, at this point, Mike Matheson might be a sleeper agent, because the audacity to, I just feel like every time he has the puck, I understand that Mike Matheson does, play a crucial role in this team, and he eats a lot of good minutes and does a lot of good things that you don't really notice all that much. But I feel like every time I notice him out there, he's just doing something dumb. And in this situation, he just absolutely rockets a puck over the glass and out of play with about 6 seconds left. And we had to really struggle there in a 6-on-4 to make sure that we kept this thing at a 2-1 lead and ended up winning the game. The only reason we were in that position in the first place because we had so many chances to bury on the open net, and we just couldn't get it done. Suzuki had like a pseudo breakaway. He didn't have the puck, but he was chasing it down and couldn't quite get it to go. It went off the post, I think, and then Safkovsky had another chance that got blocked, and then later on Safkovsky went like one-on-one with Hagel, and Hagel played some tremendous defense to keep that play alive. Safkovsky tried to like deke to the backhand and tuck that in, and Hagel had a nice stick to keep that out of the net there. So it was just like so many chances, and I was like, if we lose this game after this many chances at the open net, that's going to be devastating. But fortunately, we were able to hold on and keep that 2-1 lead intact. Some great blocks there. Nick Suzuki with a second or so left in the game makes a huge block on a Tampa player there, going for a one-timer with, again, like 2 seconds, 1 second maybe, and that's exactly what Nick Suzuki's able to do all across the ice. That's a Sidney Crosby-like play. I think I can distinctly remember in probably the 2016 playoffs and the finals, the last few seconds, Sidney Crosby makes a huge block against the Sharks to win that game there. It might have been 2017, one of those two. He's able to make a big block at the end of the game there to clinch the cup win there. It felt very similar to that. Obviously, it's only round one, but Nick Suzuki, one of your star players, is getting down and blocking shots in a a live or die situation right there with 2 seconds left. They're desperate to find a way to get a goal there, and like leave it to Nick Suzuki to make a big play like that to keep us in this one. So you gotta love that. Gotta love the effort defensively throughout this game here. Obviously, to get 28 saves there is obviously Dobes playing a huge role and doing a really nice job, but also you gotta love the defensive effort from everybody else doing a great job of just kind of keeping the chances out wide, keeping things at bay a little bit. So I think obviously it's a big team effort there. You would love to see a little bit of a better offensive push in this game. I think it would have made it a little bit better for us. We wouldn't have been left with 9 shots on goal in this entire game, which I believe is the NHL record now for lowest amount of shots in a Game 7 win. So it's just it was a crazy game. I cannot believe that the Canadians were able to pull this one off, and you got to credit everybody. I think, obviously the offense isn't there. There's some guys that I think could be playing a little bit better. Caulfield specifically, I think, is a guy that needs to wake up a little bit if we're going to, make a deep run in these playoffs here. I think he needs to find his scoring touch, find a little bit more, juice on 5-on-5 if we want to, make a deep run here. But I feel like everywhere else, I think the Canadians are doing a very nice job of making things happen and, being competitive, all that kind of stuff. Like we're finding a way to make that happen. So, obviously I'm pretty happy with that effort overall. We just got to find a way to keep moving here. So we go up against the Sabres next. Obviously, we get the big win. So it's going to be very interesting to see what we can do against Buffalo here. It's going to be a very tight series against them. I think, obviously they won the Atlantic for a reason. They're a very good team. They really put pressure on us throughout the season as well. They really put us in jeopardy a number of times when we went against them in the regular season. I believe we were the ones who got the last win there, but again, we got to find a way to retool, regroup. I think if we can beat Tampa, I think Tampa was a very, very solid team that very well could have gone deep and even won the cup this year. If we can beat them in a 7-game effort like we did here, if we continue to play like that, I think Buffalo is another team that we can definitely beat. We can definitely find a way to beat them. We'll have to see what happens there. I'll probably make another playoff preview video to break down that series matchup between the Canadians and the Sabres there. So take a look out for that. But my synopsis of that is we got to just keep doing some of the same stuff where we know what we're doing. We're playing very well, and we just got to continue to if we can get the offense going just a little bit more, I think we will be a very formidable opponent as we go on to the rest of this playoffs here. So that is pretty much all I have for this one. I'm absolutely jacked up that the Canadians were able to find a way to get this win here. A Game 7 win for this really, really young group is huge, as Marchand St. Louis said. It's absolutely massive that they were able to be in this experience at all, but win the experience as well. To find a way to take down a very, very veteran, skilled team with good coaching, all that kind of stuff. We just took down an absolute giant in the first round of the playoffs here, and the sky's the limit for this team. If they can continue to play the way that they're playing, I can't see another team that's going to be able to bulldoze them over without at least a little bit of a fight there. So I'm very, very excited for round 2 against the Buffalo Sabres. But yeah, I'll break that one down in another video coming up soon. But until then, that is all I have for you guys in this one. Go Habs, go. Great fucking win. Sorry. Had to put one in there. Great win for the guys. Very excited about that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my playoff preview video, and then see you in round 2.